What's up, my friends? Welcome to this presentation, Think Like a Leader, Earn Like a Boss, Rewire Your Mind for Profit. My name is Molly Moran. I am the founder of Green Sweep in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and also of the Live Bright movement and the Live Bright show. I am so excited to talk to you about making more money. I love money, and I love money so much, and because it is a tool. It is a tool to do more good in the world. It is a tool to create cool things, to travel, to support my family, to just be more of who I already am. And I believe you're here, you are in business because you also enjoy making money. Maybe you don't love money. Maybe you'll love money by the end of this presentation. But in any case, I'm really glad you're here because, believe it or not, many people, even super successful people, can have scarcity mindsets, can have different little things that they need to work on in their belief system in order to actually own their potential. And so welcome to this presentation, and let's get into it. In today's talk, we are going to go over a few things. We're going to have some fun together. So, number one, we are going to review the 3 profit killers. And these are general sort of categories of profit killers. Obviously, there are a gazillion things that could actually kill our profit in our businesses. I'm going to help you get clarity on your money identity. And last but not least, I'm going to show you exactly how to rewire any kind of scarcity mindset that you might have in your brain. You hear people talking often about changing your mindset, but how do you actually do that? We're going to get into that. It's going to be really fun. So again, a little bit more about me. My name is Molly Moran. I own Green Sweep, which is an eco-friendly house cleaning company in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I started the company over 16 years ago, and I have since bought 2 businesses, one of which failed massively, one of which succeeded. I sold half of Green Sweep about 7 years ago, and very recently, and in a very exciting thing that's happening, we were named as one of Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies in America. So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that. And you guys are some of the first people to know. So I am also the founder, you heard me mention before, of the Live Bright movement, which empowers entrepreneurs to create lives that light them up, right? We focus on finding more profit, more money, and more freedom. I've coached hundreds of business owners over the past several years, and I also have a really fun podcast called The Live Bright Show. And I talk to other business owners who are living bright so that we can learn from them. And so why is money, profit, freedom, and living bright so important to me? Well, quick story, and then we're going to get into it, all right? A few years ago, I found myself quite successful, making pretty good money in both my cleaning and coaching businesses, but just not as content or as satisfied as I thought I would be at that point in time. And I think a lot of people, we have this idea in our head, like once I make this much money or once I have this done, like everything's going to be cool, everything's going to be all right. But what was happening with me was I was toxically busy. I was so busy, and I was really into achievement, and I had that sort of achievement addiction thing going on, and I was headed down this other unhealthy path of, I would say, eating too much, death by Netflix, or Deathflix as I call it, drinking a little too regularly. So like just too much of bad things were happening in my life. So I was like, I seem like I'm successful, but these other things are really not that great. And yes, I have money, and yes, I have some freedom, but I'm really not that happy. And I didn't really have as much money or as much freedom as I thought I should have had at that point in my life, given all the things that I had going on, right? So I won't bore you too much more with that stuff, but I will tell you that I stepped back from everything and I examined some stuff because I'm like, okay, I've got the business, I've got some good systems, I've got some good stuff happening there. I understand my finances, I'm making smart financial decisions. So what else is it? And I realized that I had some really unhealthy money decisions that were keeping me trapped in this sort of hustle culture. And, I really participated and promoted the hustle culture for a while. And then I was like, I am freaking done. So I've been changing those beliefs over the past several years, and it's made all the difference in my life. And as a result, it's enabled me to create a life really of my dreams and of what is really truly important to me. So a little bit more about me. This is my wife, Kelly. We have been married for almost 4 years. We've been together for 14 years. And part of why I do what I do is I was able to help her retire early. Now, I will say she had a very full career, but with my businesses and what I've been able to do, it's enabled her to retire much earlier from the school system than she thought she was going to be able to. So that's something I'm really proud of. We have, without question, the cutest dog in America. Her name is Bentley. She's a new puppy for us, and I basically like to talk about her all the time. But money, it's a tool, like I said, and it's enabled me to take all kinds of trips. And that is one of my biggest, most favorite hobbies in the world is traveling. It really feeds my soul. Travel and adventure are core values of mine. And it enables me to give to people that I love. This picture over here in the top right corner, this is me and my sisters. And one of them had a big birthday, and I was able to take her to France, to Paris and Venice, actually, which was such a massive treat. And I was so excited that I got to do that. Other things, this is me acting ridiculous, like I climbed a glacier. However, this was in New Zealand, and I did actually walk on the glacier and did some other hiking around. And then we're in Amsterdam and Costa Rica and Barcelona and London and all over. I'm not sharing this to brag. I'm sharing this to show that I've gone down the path. This is part of my why. And having profit and fixing that money mindset has really enabled me to do more of this. And none of these would have happened if I hadn't done that. So, first thing I want to talk about are the 3 profit killers. And these are general categories around profit. The first one is going to be broken systems. So anything from hiring, team, inefficient scheduling, poor client pricing, onboarding, retention, bad sales process. We had a gazillion systems in our business. And when any number of them break down, it can definitely affect our profit, right? If we are turning over employees all the time, that gets real expensive. I've been there. The second big sort of category around profit killers is what I call financial fog. So this is when you don't have clear margins, when you're not sure about what your labor costs are. You've got overhead that's out of control. You got 25% admin costs in your little tiny office. That's a lot of admin costs. You could be avoiding numbers, uneducated decision-making, bad pricing. So these are financial fog pieces. And the last piece, and this is the one I'm going to be talking about, is what I call leadership drift or poor leadership. And, obviously there are some phenomenal presentations in this conference on these other 2 categories of profit killers. And I like to work on these with my clients as well. But today, the thing I really want to talk about is the leadership piece. And I have to say that once your business gets to a certain size, and a lot of people let's say they get to $1 million or $1.5 million, they get stuck. And it's not because of systems or strategy. It's because of what's happening in their head. So leadership drift doesn't start with your calendar or how you delegate. It's whatever's happening in your mind, both consciously and subconsciously. So to talk about leadership and to talk about making more money, we've got to talk about your beliefs around money. And that's what we're going to do today. So I want to quickly show you the bright leadership path. These are the skills and personality characteristics that embody great leaders. And I really only want to focus on the bottom one right now. And I just want to tell you this path, yes, this is something that I have created. It is based on all of the leadership greats out there and my own experience and research, but it's based on John Maxwell, John Wooden, Brene Brown, Simon Sinek, and the leadership greats. So these are the different tenets that a great leader will possess. And the one we're really going to focus on today is the very bottom one over here, ownership. And poor leadership or leadership drift, one of those profit killers, is directly associated with a business owner who is not taking ownership for their belief system, for their actions. So we are going to dive now into the anatomy of a belief, and then we're going to get to where those beliefs come from and how we can change those beliefs as well. Okay, so the anatomy of a belief. So belief is an idea, it's an identity, it's something that's in our head, it's something we believe, right? So Where do these things come from? Well, there is an input or a trigger. So this is something you see, hear, or are told. And then when we have that input or that trigger, we have a thought about that input or trigger, and then we assign some kind of meaning to that input. The next part of the anatomy is that we then typically feel something. We have an emotional response about that thought. And don't worry, I'm going to break this down with actual beliefs as well to make it a little less like just out there, right? So we've got the trigger, the thought, the feeling. And then when things happen over and over again, there's patterning, there's repetition to that. That's when it becomes a part of who we think we are and we identify with it. It becomes a belief. It becomes something we hold. So beliefs are essentially well-worn neural patterns, and they can be changed and rewired with both conscious effort and emotional engagement, which I'm going to get into. Neural pathways in our brain light up around the thoughts and the feelings, and then these worn neural pathways, they pattern. And then we're like, oh yeah, I believe that. Oh, I believe that. I believe that. And we believe these things, and they are just standing beliefs based on an initial trigger, thought, and feeling that we had around them. And this is good and bad. So where do these beliefs come from? All right. Well, this is an actual picture of me when I was a little child. Just kidding. I really like to joke when I'm presenting, and it's really, obviously, I can't do that here. But anyway, so this is small child. There are all these inputs when we're young and throughout our lives. But when we're young and we're kids, we're just sponges. I'm sure you've heard that it's way easier for little kids to learn foreign languages because their brains are just like sponges and there's so much happening. It's way easier for them when they're younger than when we're like 60 or 70 or 80 years old. It can still happen, but it's just so much easier because our brains are just taking it all in. So in addition to those languages, sorry, I digress, there's all these other inputs when we're young. Family modeling, religion, culture, media, friends, siblings, school, parents, childhood experiences. These are all inputs, and all these inputs imprint on our little brains. They imprint on them. Okay. So I want to just take a second and ask you to close your eyes wherever you are, unless you're driving, unless it'll look real weird for you to close your eyes wherever you are right now. I just want you to take a beat, close your eyes, and I'm just going to read some beliefs out and see if any of these trigger any thoughts or feelings in you. Okay. We're just going to do this for a second, but here we go. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. You have to work hard to make money. We can't afford that. Being humble means staying small. Always put other people first. You're only valuable if you achieve something. Don't aim too high or you'll be disappointed. All right, you can open your eyes now. I just did a little smattering of what I would say are pretty toxic beliefs that lots and lots and lots, like millions and bajillions of people hear those things when they're growing up, right? And there are thousands more messages that all of us received as small children and throughout our life, right? So, and they continue to influence who we are today and, right, how we lead our teams. So bringing that back to a belief, let's take an example of an actual belief. So here's the anatomies here, but let's talk about an actual belief. Input. You hear your parents say, money doesn't grow on trees. That's the input. Your thought could be several things, but one, it could be, if it doesn't grow on trees, money is hard to come by. There isn't ever enough money. Or I have to be careful with money. And then you could have some feelings attached to this, right? The feelings could be fear, guilt, shame, resentment. Those are not fun feelings, right? Fear, guilt, shame, resentment. These are powerful emotions. And as a kid, if you constantly are hearing money doesn't grow on trees a whole bunch and it's repeated, it can become part of your belief system. Like there's just not enough money in the world. So I better be really careful with it, right? And this is part of your lens or your filter with how you see the world and ultimately how you lead your business. So you grow up thinking money doesn't grow on trees. And then this can look like in your life, as I was saying, is that, or how it could look like Like right now in your business, you could undervalue your services. You could avoid opportunities because they seem too risky. You might bond with others over scarcity talk. Like, how many times have you been in a place and people start talking about the economy and what's going on with the economy? Oh my gosh, with the economy, right? And then what happens is your brain, so you hear it a lot, you think it, you feel it, and then your brain goes into overdrive and does this awesome thing, which when it's used in better ways is really awesome. The reticular activating system comes into play, and it reinforces this belief that money doesn't grow on trees. And it does this by finding proof everywhere that it doesn't grow on trees, and it reinforces and it becomes a pattern. And then it becomes a pattern, and it becomes a part of your identity. And then it could show up in some of the following ways, like, this is where the I am stuff comes in, but like, oh yeah, I am frugal, or I don't need much money to get by, or I just want to be comfortable, or I'm just not good with money. I'm just not good with money. Where does that come from? So this is how beliefs happen. I'm going to digress for a second because beliefs don't just come from what we hear, but they also come from modeling. So I'm going to tell you a ham sandwich story, actually just a ham story. Some of you may have heard it before, but it's the story about a woman who's cooking a ham. So she's cooking a Sunday dinner, and she's cooking the ham, and she's in the kitchen, and her partner's in there with her as well. And they're chatting, and as people often do when they're cooking, they cook and talk. So they're cooking and they're talking, and the woman is like, she gets her ham, she's got the oven on, she cuts off each end of the ham, and she sticks the ham into the oven. And her partner says to her, well, why did you just cut off both ends of the ham, like, to cook it? Like, we just wasted a whole bunch of ham. And the woman's like, I don't know. Like, that's how my mom cooked it, so that's how I cook it. So her partner says to her, well, let's ask your mom. Your mom's coming over for dinner later, so let's ask her when she gets here. So mom comes over, and they are having dinner, and the daughter says, Mom, why do we cut off both ends of the ham when we're cooking it? And her mom's like, well, I don't know. That's how grandma taught me how to do it. And so I did it. And obviously you do it. And so the girl's like, let's call grandma, because grandma is alive. So that's cool. So they call grandma to find out why in the heck they are cut off the ends of the ham. So they ask grandma, and grandma says, oh, well, I did that when your mother was younger because we lived in a really tiny apartment, and I had a smaller stove. So you know how some apartments have smaller stoves. So I had a smaller stove, and so I had to have a smaller pan to fit inside of that stove. So when I would cook a ham, there was never enough room in the oven for the full ham. So I had to cut off each end just to fit it in the oven. That's my ham story. And I'm sure you've heard that funny little ham parable before too. But this is a great story about modeling, right? And about exactly how many of our beliefs work. And it just gets in there. And so we pick them up from our family, religion, culture, or circumstance. And often we never even bother stopping to ask or figure out if they still fit. And some of that's because we're not really conscious of it, right? So just like cutting off the ends of the ham, that woman didn't even realize. She was just like, this is how you cook a ham, until her partner was like, why do you do that? She just didn't even think about it because this was modeled to her and this is what she was taught. That's very, very common, right? And so we're often doing things that might not necessarily serve us, and we might not even be aware of it, but they're just really familiar. So we keep doing them. And they become a part of our beliefs, or maybe it's our cooking habits or whatever it is. Sometimes they're totally conscious and with us, and sometimes they are not. They are subconscious beliefs, right? And so I'm sure some of you have seen this lovely iceberg before, but this iceberg is meant to represent your mind. And the cool thing, so you've got the conscious mind at the top, and then what this shows obviously is that the subconscious mind has way more going on in our subconscious than even our conscious mind, okay? And the cool thing for entrepreneurs and our conscious mind is that we are highly adept at thinking, strategizing, reacting, planning, and that's great as an entrepreneur. That's all in our conscious mind, right? The not so great news is that if we don't become more aware of what's happening in our subconscious and maybe get rid of some of those subconscious beliefs or identities, it doesn't matter how hard we work to make money. We're going to continue to feel like we're running uphill, and we're not going to be succeeding the way we want to if we do in fact have some toxic money beliefs under there. So what's in our subconscious mind about money, and how do we get it working for us rather than against us? So I do want to say that obviously our belief systems aren't just from when we're young. They continue to develop over time and as we mature. And this is where the power is realizing this and realizing we can install new beliefs or take away beliefs that don't work for us just by going back to our inputs. So this is grown-up business owner person, right? And so she's got all of her regular stuff from when she was a kid, her childhood experiences, her parents. And then she's got all these other things that are going on too. Media, school, siblings, failures, relationships, friends, media, lots of stuff with the media and grown-up experiences. All of these things come in, and some of them we're thinking about and some of them we're really not, and they're more in our subconscious. So what subconscious beliefs could potentially be running the show? What beliefs could be potentially be killing your profit without you even realizing it? And again, I just want to say, figuring out our belief system as the leaders of our company is a key component of driving our profit. We want to get rid of these profit killers. So what could be killing our profits without even realizing it? I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. And I just want to say, I have a handout at the end with this and a worksheet and a whole bunch of other things that I'm going to provide you. So you don't need to hurry to take notes on these, but some of these will help bring awareness to some of you that you might actually have these and you didn't even realize it. So here we go. Undercharging out of fear that people won't pay more. Apologizing when quoting your price. Feeling guilty when you make more than your team. In the past, I felt super guilty for when I got a new car. Like I got a nice new car and I felt really bad about it because some of my team were driving junkers or clunkers or whatever you call them. I got rid of that money belief, let me tell you. Avoiding financial reports, over-delivering just to justify what you're charging, taking on clients who are clearly not a fit, resisting raising prices even when you're booked out, believing I can't afford to hire help even when you're maxed out, not paying yourself consistently or fairly, hoarding cash out of fear of a downturn, feeling anxious or defensive when talking about money, making emotional decisions instead of strategic ones, delaying investments that would grow the business. Wait, I'm not done. Look at that. Oh my God, there's even more. And there are literally hundreds. But tolerating toxic clients because they pay too much to lose. We just went through this at my business. We fired 2 clients who were toxic, who caused the team so much stress. And the team was feeling really bad because they were big clients. And I was like, get rid of them. There is going to be a better fit out there. Discounting your services without being asked, being vague about your pricing, comparing your success to others and feeling bad or behind. I see a lot of this, unfortunately. Equating busyness with worthiness. I think that might ring true for a lot of people, unfortunately. Feeling uncomfortable celebrating financial wins, believing you have to hustle in order to deserve profit. So associating wealth with selfishness or greed, avoiding visibility, sabotaging growth opportunities by procrastinating, believing I'm just not good with money and never challenging it, or thinking I only need enough to be comfortable. So these are a bunch of messed up toxic beliefs because they are holding way too many people back. I'm hoping that going through that list stimulated something in your brain to be like, oh yeah, I might have that one. I need to look at that one. And then you can look at it a little bit later when we get there. So our conscious mind, I'm just going to make this a picture to make it like very obvious, just to make it a little bit more visual. But our conscious mind is like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a gazillionaire, a bajillionaire, and you're counting all your Benjamins and whatever. Whereas our subconscious mind is clutching that dollar bill like it's the last one on earth, right? I love this visual because many people have these massive, huge money dreams, but they've been at it for the same thing for an awful long time and they're clutching the dollar, right? Which means that they probably have some messed up money beliefs. So we're going to get to how to get rid of those. If these limiting beliefs are shaping our decisions, our confidence, and our profit, then we have to ask, who's really leading the business? Because whether you realize it or not, your beliefs are driving the bus. Your business will grow at the speed of your leadership. Your profits will grow based on this as well. And that's why leadership, especially self-leadership down here, okay, ownership, is the foundation of everything. In the Live Right Leadership path, you can't lead others well until you're leading yourself. The ownership tenet represents self-leadership, personal responsibility, energy management, identity, mindset, and actually owning your results, choices, and habits. If a leader lacks ownership, they react, they create chaos, and they burn out. I'm going to say that again. If a leader lacks ownership, they react, they blame, they create chaos, and they burn out. As business owners, we have to take responsibility for the entirety of our businesses, right? And we have to take responsibility for our belief systems, ownership of what we believe, both consciously and subconsciously. Once we take responsibility for our belief systems, then you get clarity. See, this is the second one, clarity on what your values are and where you are going. And then you get to take action, and then cool shit happens, my friends. So let's pause for a second. Hard truth, your financial success right now is a direct reflection of what your inner beliefs are. What you believe about money, how you lead your company, and your very own worth are going to shape everything else. I'm going to tell you a really fun story about a client I'm going to call Kara, okay? Kara runs a decent sized cleaning company. When we first started meeting, she's right about $800,000. Every time a client complained, Kara would bend over backward. That's Kara, bending over backward, whether the client was right or not. And listen, I believe in great customer service, but we all have clients that complain, and we should not be discounting them and doing reclaims and apologizing and doing all these things. And that's what Kara was doing. The other thing that Kara was doing was that, so her revenue is about $800,000. She was not raising prices because she was like, well, it's enough. I don't want to be greedy. She wasn't raising anyone's prices. And so I was like, well, Kara, we were trying to figure out why her profit was so low and a variety of other things. And so because she had decent financial stuff in place, she had pretty decent systems. So we were really looking at this third component, which is her leadership and specifically what some of her belief systems around profit were. So I pressed her on these profit beliefs, which I saw as a massive limitation. Why don't you think you can charge more, Kara? And why do you think you have to over-accommodate these PETA clients? So we did some exploration, and Kara shared that she grew up hearing, be grateful for what you have. And so that was her input. Again, you guys, this is the anatomy of a belief. We are figuring out where these beliefs came from. So be grateful for what you have. We kept digging and realized that subconsciously, Kara thought that wanting more meant that she didn't appreciate what she already had. And so that was her thought. And then her feeling was guilty and bad. She felt bad, okay, for wanting more. So holy cow, you guys, did you hear that? She was stuck in underpricing and over-delivering because she felt bad for wanting more. And so her belief around that, a couple of beliefs around that were, I earn love by being selfless and accommodating, right? So she's over-delivering and hoping she gets love. So I earn love by being selfless and accommodating, and I should be happy with whatever comes my way. This goes back to the input of be grateful for what you have. Because the thought then is wanting more is not appreciating what she had. And then she felt guilty and bad. And then her identity and belief came out of this. You guys, this is crazy stuff. Okay, so she's aware. Many people have been to therapy. You get awareness, but then you're like, what the heck do I do with this information? I'm aware of it. I don't like this, but what do I do? So Kara had the awareness and discussed, did she actually want to continue like this? No, she didn't want to continue like this. So she didn't want this belief anymore, as it had been hanging out in her subconscious and causing all of these ripple effects for years and years and years. And she wanted a business that was simpler with fewer PITA clients and that made a lot more money. Okay, so how do we change this? How does Kara change this toxic profit killer belief? Okay, this is the rewire for you. And at the end of the presentation, I'm going to give you your very own worksheet for you so that you can rewire any of your own profit killing beliefs so that you can own your stuff and start leading better. I hope this sounds good to you. Just to review, and I'm going to get into this, but a couple of those beliefs that some of you may have, I just want you to stay with me in this. I'm going to repeat a few of these, and then we're going to go through how Kara did this. So 1, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work hard to earn a lot of money. You're only worth something if you're achieving. So there are some toxic beliefs that some of you listening may have. And just like Kara did, she brought awareness for her underlying belief around that she should just be grateful for the crumbs, basically, and that she had to get love by bending over backwards for people. So she got awareness, right? The next step is challenging this belief. So where did this belief come from? And is this belief always true? What evidence contradicts it? What has this belief cost? Okay, so it's looking at that. And a lot of times with this activity, you can talk through it, but writing through it also is really helpful to access some different parts. So I recommend that you write some of this stuff down when you do this on your own. So for Kara, she realized the profit killer belief came from her family. She realized in her exploration that is not what she wants to believe, right? So she went through, she challenged it. And step 3, you decide, like, do you want to let this go or do you not want to let this go? And of course, most of us don't want to hold on to these, but she decided, I want to let this go. And I will say that this is an ongoing practice for Kara. Sometimes once people have awareness around toxic beliefs, they're like, well, screw that. And they just freaking let it go and they do not allow it into their consciousness again. And they're like, that is not who I am. There are a lot of people who have to continue to work on it over time, and the beliefs get smaller and smaller and smaller. You might be one of those people that can just decide and be done, or you might need to work on it a little bit over time. So Kara decided, I'm done with this, but it still pops up sometimes. So she has some tools that she uses. So for example, when the belief pops up, excuse me, she journals. She's a big journaler. She journals all the evidence she can to the contrary for that negative belief. She's also really good at visualization after a lot of practice. And so she imagines this belief, this toxic belief of, and I don't know what she attaches to it, but she has some kind of visual she attaches to it, but she imagines this one about crumbs, be grateful for what you get, basically. And she imagines it just floating away from her body. Okay. It just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and becomes less and less a part of her. So she does that. And I'm sure some of you have heard some of these tools in the past. And what I'm really hoping is that when you hear about them today, you'll embrace them because they work, you guys, they work. I'm telling you. So try them and see what happens with your profit. How about that? So step 4, then she decided, and this is always a good idea, is to get a new belief around money. So replace the crappy beliefs with empowering money-making beliefs, right? So you reframe and then you reinforce. So her new belief became, I am a generous and grateful leader who knows her worth. So she didn't get rid of the gratitude part of her identity, but she changed it. I'm a generous and grateful leader who knows her worth. And I honor myself by charging what my service is truly worth. So these are new beliefs that she wired in. She anchored them in with a feeling, with a lot of repetition, and then followed up with some very specific actions to reinforce this belief. And I'm going to have all of this laid out in a worksheet for you. So this is so cool, you guys. Let me tell you what happened next. Kara, so she hadn't done price increases in a while. And so she's got these new beliefs. And we're like, okay, now we need to make it happen. We need to reinforce this and this new belief. So she did some quick competitive analysis of other people in her market and realized that she was undercharging by an average of 14%. Ooh, that's a lot of money. Okay, that's a lot of money. She's phasing in some price increases, but if you recall, her revenue was around $800,000 when we started working together, okay? So she's phasing those in, and I'm going to do the math for you, but 14% across the board price increase on $800,000, $112,000. You guys, I'm going to say that again, $112,000 $100,000 in found profit. Okay. And that's just because she had some crappy profit-killing beliefs. It was right there. She didn't have to pay anyone anymore. She didn't have to go out and find more revenue and more clients and more employees to access that $112,000. She just had to shift her beliefs and then reinforce them and act and do price increases. And girlfriend's got another $112,000 in profit, which could go in her pocket or she could reinvest back in her business. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Kind of still gives me chills when I think about it. Anyway, and even as important as that 112 is that Kara realized that that limiting belief that she'd been carrying from her childhood that was given to her as a child was what was slowing her growth and her profit. So remember, owning your belief system is a quality of a great leader. Okay, so $112,000, you guys. Can you believe that? All right, so I'm going to give you a couple of cool things. So this is a Rewire Your Money Mindset worksheet. This is a QR code. Go ahead and scan that. If for some reason you are unable to scan that right now, don't worry. You can get it off my website. You can go to mollymoran.com/MMM, and that is for Make More Money. And you can get this download there. So some of you may know exactly what your limiting beliefs are, and if so, fantastic. If not, though, at the end of this worksheet, I've got a list of, 25 or 30 other limiting beliefs to jog your memory. Go ahead and get this Rewire Your Money worksheet, and then I want to just review really quickly what we learned. We learned the 3 profit killers, or the categories of profit killers. So broken systems, financial fog, and leadership drift, or bad ownership of our leadership and our capacity. We learned the anatomy of a belief. So where do these beliefs come from? And there's input, and then from the input, remember the ham story? It could be modeling, or it could be oral, it could be culture, it could be a whole variety of things, those inputs. And then we have a thought about it where we assign meaning, and then we have feeling. And then when these repeat, they become part of our belief system and our identity. We also learned how to rewire beliefs that don't work for us. So the first step, of course, is awareness. And then we challenge the awareness. We use actual evidence from our lives to have a look at it. We decide if we want it or don't want it. We probably don't want it. And then we reframe and reinforce with actual action, like price increases, like Kara did, right? For another $112,000. I just like to say that a lot. So we did a lot here. And all of these things, as you look at this, I just threw the bright leadership path up here again. They tie into becoming a better leader, because we will not be able to grow that business of our dreams until we really take ownership for our belief systems and where we want to go. So I've got one more thing, you guys. I'm going to hurry up here really quickly. One more thing here is that I have a free challenge coming up. It is the Make More Money free challenge. This will be fun. We will do this in a group setting. It will be a 5-day challenge. It will be limited. So if you are interested, get over here and get signed up. The QR code is here, or again, you can go to mollymoran.com/MMM for Make More Money and enroll in it there. It is a free 5-day challenge where we will be working on that third leg, which is leadership and specifically your belief system. I will also be throwing some other components in there about some systematic things that you can do to also increase your profits. So it'll be a combination, but it will be very practical, very applicable. And by the end, you should be making more money. So that's it. I sure hope you enjoyed this. I want you to make more money. I want you to create that business and that life that you want so that you can do the things that you want. Remember, money is a tool. Money is a tool to do more fantastic things in this world for ourselves, for others, for the people that we love, for whatever floats your boat. So y'all, I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for joining. Please find me on the socials. I'm at Molly Moran Live on Facebook and Instagram and sort of LinkedIn. And again, thanks so much, and live bright.